What's up, everyone? Today is Friday, August 27th. It's the last day of the trading week, and I believe it's the last day of the trading month as well. If I'm being completely honest, August was a very, very difficult month to trade. Probably the hardest month I have traded in the last, I don't know, 18, 24 months, however long I've been trading. This was definitely the most this was definitely the hardest month to trade, mainly because I primarily focus on breakouts, and this month breakouts just did not have the continuation that we wanted. I still did end the month green. I think I ended the month up like 1.2k, something like that. I'll have to see specifically, but the fact that I ended the month green during a very, very tough month is it's a milestone for me. I'm slowly but surely starting to develop the consistency that I want. So I took one trade today. That trade was on Netflix. That trade also netted me a 100 plus percent return on investment. That is a huge milestone for me because I have never made over 100% return on investment on a single given trade. I've made 70, I've made 80, but it's never been over 100%. And August 27th, this was the first time I netted over 100% on a trade. So to be specific, I think it was 105% return on investment. So I'm going to be reviewing that Netflix trade because I know a lot of members either took it or missed it. I'll start with a blank chart as always. Start with the higher time frame, then delve into the entries and exits, why I entered, why I exited, where I did. Okay, so as always, higher time frame. So let's go to a hourly chart. And besides the hourly chart, I want to go to a blank chart first. So, okay. So as always, I want to start from the higher time frame. So the first thing I do is I always draw out my zones. So let's go to a daily time frame. Can't really see much. Go to 4 hour. So the reason I'm drawing all these zones out is because a lot of people requested me to basically create the entire Netflix plan from start. So that's exactly what I'm doing. This way you can see my exact thought process leading up to the trade and then my entries and exits. So I have clear 4 hour demand right there. I'm mainly looking for fresh supply and fresh demand zones. If you go back to my previous videos, you'll see that I'm really only interested in fresh demand and supply because those have the highest probability of working out. So there are definitely used zones which I'm missing out, but for time's sake and because I mainly consider fresh demand and supply zones, those are the only ones I'm marking up. So really no other. Oh, I think there's supply right here, which is at 580, but that is very, very far away. So I'm just gonna mark that as 3 hours. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't really find any. I'm definitely missing out on some zones. I definitely felt like there were a couple of more, but we had this 2 hour, it was used. Okay, for the sake of this video, just because I want like I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this zone even if it is used. Just because I like some sort of structure. And mark this because this is still very, very clear. 2 hour supply has been used, so mark it as used. Just because I wanna go over some targets as well, and then it's been used a second time. Okay, perfect. Yep. So besides those two zones, turns out that we came and we hit the supply zone again. So this is now the third test of this supply zone. definitely isn't going to hold for much longer because when supply is used two, three times, it tends not to work out. So that is the first step. Oh, there's one more zone I'm going to draw here. Oh, but this zone is very, very far away. So it's kind of irrelevant. I'm not really interested in drawing zones in the 500 area when Netflix is trading at like 560. So that's the first thing I do. I always draw out my fresh demand and supply zones, and in this case, use because it would have been a good target. Next, what I do is I like to go to a 1 hour. You can honestly use whatever time frame suits you, but for me, I like the 1 hour time frame. And essentially, what I do is I just draw areas of support and resistance and areas which just interest me. So this was a very, very clear and interesting trend line. The reason why this trend line here is so powerful is because it had numerous touches. One, two, three, four. You can count this five, six. Fast forward in time, we hit this trend line again, 7, including the supply. Then we fast forward again, and I mean, we respect this trend line perfectly, literally to the penny. 8, and then all of the last week, we've been respecting this trend line. And when a trend line is tested that many times, the move through that trend line is going to be very, very explosive. And I'm grateful that it happened on a Friday because the premiums inflated very, very heavily. So besides that trend line, I did like another level. It was the 557.5. I'll go ahead and tell you why I like this level, but there was actually double confirmation on a higher time frame, and that's why I this is why I've really enjoyed this setup. So you can see that this level has been acting as support and resistance multiple times, acting as support here, res resistance, another resistance to 3, all of a couple of weeks ago, 4, 5, fast forward a little bit more, another touch. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that this level, the 557.5 level, had numerous touches. So my target was actually 565, I think. So the reason I'm drawing out all these levels, I'll explain it in a bit, is just to tell you, to show you potential areas of support and resistance and profit targets. So not only did Netflix have this trend line, let me just fast forward. So not only did Netflix have this trend line break on a 1 hour time frame, but it also broke the 557.5 key level. And since I didn't have any fresh demand, fresh supply until 580, I knew that realistically Netflix is not moving 20, $30, especially because the market has been having no continuation lately. So if Netflix was to have continuation, 580 would definitely be an unreasonable target. So I simply found the next area of resistance which interested me. And in that case, that was the 566.7 level. So this level has been acting as resistance multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that I knew that that level would gravitate. I knew that price would gravitate towards that level. And now that Netflix broke these two trend lines, and this supply has been used so many times it's irrelevant to me. I'm essentially waiting for Netflix to reach this level, and then I'm going to take the breakout of the 566.7 level, targeting 580. So this is probably a play for next week. Okay, so now that I went over the higher time frame, let's go right into our entries and exits. I removed the trend line, but I entered right here. I'll quickly just show my scale out. Here, I played 3, scaled another one right here, scaled my final one right here. So I kind of anticipated the trend line breakout. So green is my entry. So I'm just gonna make that green. So essentially what happened is this upper wick missed the trend line by like a couple of cents. In hindsight, I should have taken the trade on the second 5-minute candle through the trend line. I got a little bit impatient, entered slightly before. In this case, it worked out, but Netflix could have easily reversed from this trend line, so it's always safer to take it through the trend line, in my opinion, or slightly before. But in this case, I entered on the first 5 minute candle here. Price did close. It wasn't the best close, but we did have a strong green candle with a nice lower wick. And what I really liked is the fact that Netflix had very, very good volume, especially compared to the past previous days. So Netflix closed strong with a nice lower wick. That gave me conviction, even though, at one point my contracts were down like 80, 90 cents, and this was a Friday, so pullbacks definitely did hurt. But I was patient enough to wait for a 5 minute candle close. And then this candle, skipped dollars. It killed the trend line. It ripped right through it. So at this point, I played three contracts at a premium price of 252. Um, at this point, I'm already in. Now you have to think about where retail traders are entering. Retail traders are most likely entering above that trend line. So what I'm doing is I'm just selling my position to them. So I entered three at 252. I just put a limit at 3.5. Contracts were moving super fast. I got filled. Then I put another limit at 5. It wasn't getting filled. So just to be safe, it was a Friday. I put my next, I just marketed out of the second one because I wasn't getting filled at 5. So I got out of this one at 4.7. And then typically I will hold one contract to, hit my final target. But there's a couple of reasons why I sold early. Uh, First of all, Powell was speaking at 10 o'clock. I definitely did not want to hold through Powell speaking because that could sway the direction of the market anyway. I don't want to take chances. The second reason was that it's a Friday, and as we all know, pullbacks on Fridays crush your premiums 15-20%. So I didn't want to risk that happening. And third of all, even though I am playing three contracts, technically I am still in 33% of my position at that point. So 33% of my position is honestly a lot. If I was in maybe 5 to 10%, then I would probably let it run and then stop out at break even. But the fact that Powell was speaking, it's a Friday, and I'm still in 33% of my position, I decided to lock in profits when we hit 570, 562. And on the level two, I saw a lot of size here, and we failed to get above. So I got out of my last contract at a premium price of, don't know the exact field, but I believe it was 7.4. So keep in mind I entered at 2.52. So a final scale out of 7.4 is over 200, 250%. So this was a very, very well executed trade on my end. The entry could have been slightly better on the second 5 minute candle, but overall this was a very, very solid play. I explained the higher time frame analysis. Starting from 1 hour, I gave you the blank chart. I showed you the level, showed you the entries and exits. So a lot of things aligned on this trade. And another thing is if you had entered here and you stopped out when we were down 80, 90 cents, that just means that, in my opinion, you really aren't following your plan. My plan would have, been if Netflix, my stop probably would have been closer to 552 or this area because this was previous resistance. So technically it should act as support. However, that my stop never triggered. So yes, I am down 280, whatever, 290 at the moment. But if I follow my plan, I should be consistently profitable in the long run. And if you're making your decisions based off of your P&L, if you're like, oh, this was a good trade, but I'm down 200, so I have to get out, then that simply means that you're playing with too big size. I was I wouldn't say I was like I would be completely fine, but if I did take a $250 to $300 loss, which is probably what I was risking, I would be completely fine with that. Even though yes, it would hurt in the moment, but the fact that this was a high probability play supported with volume and momentum, I was fine risking $300, knowing that I could have made a lot more. And in this case, I did. I made around $800. So it's all about risk to reward. It's all about following your plan. And honestly, the easiest way is if you're stopping out too early, if you're scared about the money fluctuating, it's just scale down to one contract. If you're playing one contract, in my opinion, whatever your account size is, playing one contract, I don't really think losing 40, $50. I know 40 to $50 is a lot of money, but in the world of trading, 40 to $50 really isn't that much. It's kind of like commission money. So whatever your account size is, you really, really need to size down if you're making your decisions based off of your P&L. No, just because I had a good trade doesn't mean I'm gonna size up instantly. I'm still gonna trade for another 2 to 3 weeks with my size, and then when I'm comfortable playing with that size, when I'm making all the right decisions, when I'm not making any decisions based off of my P&L, then I'm gonna increase my size by 1 or 2 contracts. And then when I feel confident with that size, I'm gonna continuously increase. Now I'm not rushing this. I'm just focusing on the chart, not focusing on the P&L. I know I'm being super repetitive right now, but these really are the minor things that you have to drill in your head to become a consistently profitable trader. So that was my entire Netflix trade. Again, it's a huge milestone for me because have not netted over 100% return on investment on a single trade. This was my first trade. And this also goes to show that you really only need 2 to 3 good trades to make your month. So I know Dylan took an amazing trade off of Google, netted him over 100%. I mean, he scaled his last contract out at like 600%. So that trade and his Netflix trade today, um, probably netted him over like 50, 60K. And that was only on 2 to 3 trades. So again, trade less, be super selective, follow your chart and not your P&L. And those are just the minor things you need to be consistently profitable trader. So let me know if I missed out anything. As always, if you have any questions, hit me up on Discord because that's where I'm the most active. You can also leave a comment below and I will get back to you relatively soon. But I will be here to trade. Hopefully September is a lot better than August. Hopefully we have more follow through.